in the newspaper. It was quite a lengthy answer. But that editor sure knew how to write. And it was pretty, if you ever get a chance to like, just sit down and read the entire, I had to skip parts. If you get a chance to read the entire thing he ever wrote, it's really, really good. So that takes us to Christmas cards, sending cards out to everybody. So in 1843, Henry Cole commissioned an artist named John Horsley to design the first Christmas card. Most of them at that time had scenes of people sitting around a dinner table, enjoying a meal together, people caring for the poor. He printed 1,000 of them to start. They were sold for 1 shilling, which would be 8 cents in today's money, which was really expensive for 1843. 8 cents at that point for a piece of paper was a lot. So most people were not able to send Christmas cards. So kids made them. They were getting, just random pieces of paper, drawing pictures and writing messages on them. So we're getting handmade cards. Industrialization caused those prices to go down, making them affordable to everyone. So by 1900, there were 11.5 million cards sold for the holidays. By the late Victorian era, so that 1900s, when they were becoming more and more common, most of them showed nature scenes, similar to the one you can see here. Most of them had robins and snow. They were the big thing. Robins and snow on your Christmas cards. Not long after that, Santa Claus images are introduced onto the cards, and still focusing on nature, just having Santa be in the nature. So here he's delivering presents out in the snow. He is actually pushing a wagon of nature. All his berries and holly and things like that going on. In America, they don't become widely popular until about the 1870s, 1880s. Christmas cards start to become a little more popular when an American finally decides to design their own Christmas card. They were designed by Louis Prang out of Massachusetts, and he was able to mass produce them. His first cards had flowers, plants, and focused on children. So we're usually kids out playing in the snow, things like that. These are some earlier cards. This is one of my favorite Christmas pictures, Christmas cards. I just think it's really cute. With all the kids all around, and Santa can hear them all at one time. It's old-fashioned stuff, and I just think that's cool.
Praying like criminals?
I don't know.
So this era, not only did they start to see more elaborate decorations, cards, gifts, things like that, they also started to experience more entertainment around the holidays. People started to throw parties, have entertainment in their homes for Christmas. Usually it was filled with music, like you can see here, stories, and games. Reading things like The Night Before Christmas, or reading A Christmas Carol as a family became very popular. And playing games with everyone, just family fun in general, it became widely popular. There's also some stuff around Christmas that you wouldn't think was a Christmas story, right? In case you could believe this, The Body Snatcher by Robert Louis Stevenson was published in a Christmas edition of Pall Mall magazine. It was their Christmas story that year, put out in 1884. And we would never think of The Body Snatcher being Christmas by any stretch of the imagination. But back in 1884, that's what they did. They put it in that December issue so families could read it around the fire on Christmas Day. And then they would go eat. So this is just a sample of a wealthier family's Christmas dinner at the time. Pretty extensive. But things that we typically would potentially have as hors d'oeuvres, they were having as dinner. as part of their dinner. Olives, celery, pecans, things like that. But then they'd also have goose, chicken, salad, dressed lettuce with cheese straws. I'm not sure what a cheese straw is, but stuffing, potatoes, beans, and peas, and then pudding, multiple kinds of pudding, cakes, crackers, cheeses, pretty much anything you could possibly imagine that you could eat, they were eating it on Christmas Day. Another picture, that's a picture from the Christmas Carol as well as plum pudding. I mean, there was a big popular thing in Europe at the time, still is, people eat plum pudding around the holidays. Just to kind of show you people getting around that dinner table again. So that takes us to Christmas songs, Christmas carols. In 1833, the first book of Christmas carols was published for the masses. It was called Christmas Carols, Ancient and Modern, and introduced two songs to us that we have around. Most of them are religious. It's the way it works at Christmas time usually. So we have The First Noel and Hark the Herald Angels Sing. It was first published in 1833. And a few others that came not long after that. God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen and Oh Come All Ye Faithful were published in 1844. In 1848, Once Upon a Royal David City came about. The following year, in 1849, It Came Upon a Midnight Clear was first published. And in 1851, See Amid the Winter Snow came out. And some that are not so religious, in 1857, Jingle Bells made its first appearance. 1862, we had Deck the Halls. By 64, Up on the Housetop. And by 1865, Jolly Old St. Nicholas became popular as well. And it was very popular for people to take these songs and go out into their community and Christmas carol. Walk the streets, stop at people's doorsteps, gather more people as you went down the road. Everybody knew the songs. So people were very happy to do so and share in that joy. Just another one that came about, O Little Town of Bethlehem, came out in 1865 as well. And this is my last slide, just because I like the picture. And it kind of everything that it was like at the time. This is Victorian Christmas in a nutshell. Everything from their clothes to the type of card that it's on, with the nature showing and the clothes they're wearing and the way they wrap their present. It is a Victorian, minus Santa Claus being in the picture, it is Victorian Christmas to a T in that image. Does anybody have any questions or anything about how any of this stuff happened? Or, yeah.
I'm kind of curious what you were saying about Thanksgiving and it being a fairly recent invention. I'm kind of wondering why we continue to teach kids. Like when I was growing up, I was in the Thanksgiving pageant and everything. And why do we continue with the stories?
We don't so much anymore.
Okay.
My kids are my third and fourth grader. So they're the third, fourth, sixth, and eighth grader. Yeah, thank you. Pray for me tonight. But my younger ones do not learn that anymore. When they were in preschool, they did. But the older that they've gotten, they have kind of gotten away from it. They focus more in school on the thankful piece of Thanksgiving, as opposed to a Pilgrim Indian story.
Yeah.
So they do things with, a turkey with feathers and what are you most thankful for, and doing things for people you're thankful for and things like that, and focusing on that message as opposed to the story that people, my age or older, have grown up with. They have gotten away from it a lot in the schools at this stage of the game.
feel like the Peanuts cartoons have widened. So.
I know, right? It's terrible.
If you look up the origins also when they talk about massacres, and that's what it actually started as. They would massacre the Indians and then have grand feast. And a party to celebrate killing all the Indians, and then like the next night they massacre a whole bunch more Indians and have a grand
Have
feast
another
and
feast.
celebrate.
Yeah.
And so, I spoiled the kindergarten teacher here. Ruined her Thanksgiving for her.
Right.
We're celebrating massacres. So yeah, they try to sugarcoat everything.
Oh, of course.
You know,
Of course.
can't really report about brutal history.
No, I'll put it, at least put it on the story. Anything else?
And when you're showing us pictures from a Christmas Carol, we had one of the Fezziwig ball.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that. I've heard of it. A friend of mine goes to it every year, but I don't.
Oh, well, Fezziwig's a character in the book.
Gotcha.
And he throws this huge ball.
Gotcha.
So it's become, a lot of places will now hold like a big, kind of an old-fashioned holiday party, or ball, if you want to call it that, with a lot of dancing and stuff, and call it that based off of the book. Yeah, just a big party.
That was,
That-
Fezziwig was his first employer, Scrooge's.
Yeah.
And he, at
Oh.
Christmas Eve, they would close up and
Gotta
have a.
watch the movie. It's a good movie.
Well, you're talking about movies, so many of our preconceptions about the holidays are coming as Christmas cartoons and.
Oh, yeah.
Like, when you were talking about the stockings, like there's that one, the Burgermeister, Meister Burger,
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
He was, made them put their, like, he was banning Santa Claus, so.
Yes, no more
kids had to
presents.
hide their stockings.
Mhm. Yes.
It seems in a way like Christmas started out in Victorian times as being a time when you spent an awful lot of family time making ornaments, decorating the tree, you even made your own cards and made
Right.
presents and things. And, it's kind of interesting to think, like even in my own lifetime, how things have kind of spiraled away from that. It seems like it was a lot more family oriented back then.
Yes. I agree.
Industrialization is a blessing and a curse sometimes.
Yes. I agree. I agree. Because now it's more what your family chooses. It's a tradition thing to do certain things. People still do it, but a lot of times nowadays it got to be just the easy, quick way to still try to get the same feel at the end. If I could buy it and give somebody a gift and get the same reaction as if I made that gift and took days or years, a year to make it, I might as well just go buy it, because less effort, and you're still gonna make them happy in the end. Same thing with Christmas cards. How long would it take if you had to mail out 80 Christmas cards? You still had to make them all yourself too.
Yeah.
It's things like that. You get the same, a lot of times you get the same reaction on the end result, but do you get the same thing at the beginning as the thing?
So, Christmas was, we're just talking about Victorian Christmas, but Christmas was celebrated, in colonial America, correct?
Not like we think of Christmas. People were giving gifts, but it was different. It was very religious based. So it was, you went to church, you celebrated the birth of Jesus, you had a good meal, or maybe something you typically wouldn't eat on a regular basis, and you didn't give gifts at Christmas. You gave gifts at Epiphany when the wise men came. You gave gifts a month later. Then you would present a gift to, and not to every relative you've ever met. It was a gift to your immediate. You might give your child a gift, or give a child to a parent or a spouse. But that was it. And it was all very symbolic of the religious aspect of it, where a lot of the stuff in the Victorian era became more the, I don't want to say the fun part, but it's, the fun stuff. The Santa Claus and that kind of popularizing the whole thing, and took it away a little bit more from the religious piece of it.
was born in Iowa, and on both sides of the Mississippi River in Illinois and in Iowa, you have a lot of ethnic families that are like Norwegian and Swedish and German. And the Christmas gifts, they still, a lot of the people who are still very traditional, if it's a secular present, it's always very humble and small. And like, you know, it really was more about the religious aspect of the holiday. And we didn't get big, flashy, huge, you know,
Yes.
presents.
Yep.
So,
And the Christmas
100%.
tree too, because I mean, you know, over the years, but the Christmas tree was a German tradition.
Mhm. Yeah.
And, you know, I think I had been told that it was actually the Hessians brought a Christmas tree. Trying to remember which.
They may have went up somehow, but it wasn't, I don't think people really, nobody started doing it because of them. We didn't like them. We weren't gonna take their tradition when the revolution was over. We wanted, it had nothing to do with the Germans at that point. Yeah, but by, you know, the 1850s, we're okay with them by then. We'll take their tradition. But, yeah, I mean, they may have celebrated Christmas with a tree of some sort, you
Sure,
know,
they-
in camp or something, but it,
Of Washington, right, but it
wasn't
crossed the
popular.
Delaware, because they were celebrating Christmas.
yes, they did, they crossed the Delaware, the Hessians were busy celebrating it.
Keeping it off.
And, yes, so Christmas helped us win. Imagine. Yeah.
I kind of wonder why the European custom of Christmas came over, but I've learned fairly recently, in recent years, their custom of the Krampus or whatever he's called did not. The mean guy who comes around to.
We didn't want mean stuff. People were looking for happier times. They
Because-
wanted that happy feeling. You bring in Krampus that's gonna take stuff away and destroy the Christmas, then
I
it's like,
kind of
ugh. Nobody wants that.
wonder, just with all the immigrants and stuff coming in, it never took hold, which I
No.
appreciate.
Right.
As a former child, I appreciate it.
Yes, yes.
Well, in Sweden, they still do the Yule goat, where they have a gigantic goat that they make out of like timber, and they burn the goat. And
Why?
It's actually, it is a ritual sacrifice.
I was gonna say it's symbolic.
It's symbolic of a ritual sacrifice to bring the warmth back.
Ah,
So, and that's a real old Nordic thing.
Yeah, I know
Interesting.
my daughter recently went to Iceland a couple years ago, and she said where they had a little hut where all the kids tried to trap the Krampus, and they call them something else there, but
Okay.
it's the same thing. And after Christmas, you can go in and look, and she was there in March and throw things at them or something. So, but you know, that was really the first I had ever heard of that, and then I started hearing about it from other countries. So
Yeah.
it's just,
yeah,
so
well,
they still
never
do
really
it there.
so cold here, but it's okay with me.
Yeah, it's fine with me too.
Yeah. Stick with the happy part.
I just wonder if some of it also has to do with the fact that, you know, you have longer nights, and it brought color and brightness, because it is,
Right.
you know, it's a bright holiday.
Uh-huh.
You know, and then of course, like the decorating the trees with the candlelight.
Right, you're lighting the room
it-
and-
Instead of
Yep.
the long, dreary, lonesome, quiet, cold night, you
Mhm.
know, you're up, you're doing things.
Right.
You know.
Makes sense.
I know, when I was growing up in Medford, most of my teachers were from the families that have lived here forever.
Mhm.
And we did get talks on, I think they were trying to persuade us, we were all materialistic.
Right.
Of the Quaker traditions that they did around here for Christmas, and they were very low-key.
I'm sure.
Very in the Victorian times where they were
Yeah.
the oranges and the apples and the
And a
fruit and
lot of
nuts, and
them
it
were-
still was like that.
Yeah, and a lot of ethnic groups were the same way, too. Like the Eastern Europeans, I know, were very, I mean, they had big things with their family, but it's very simple. The foods were always very simple foods. And it was the same thing every year. I still eat them, same thing every year. But very simple meals, immediate family only, for like the Christmas Eve mostly. Immediate family only. You didn't invite every neighbor and cousin and everything in. There weren't big elaborate presents, and that was the last thing you were allowed to do, was open a box. Everything had to come before that. The dinner and singing songs as a family and hanging out came first. And that's a lot of that Eastern European groups do that type of tradition that makes it very simple and less based on, I mean, they'll do obviously material gifts, but they're usually fairly simple gifts, or they're necessities. They're not like the big toy that you've ever wanted. You'll get a sweatshirt, you know, you get a pack of socks. Sometimes you get candy. That was always the big thing at our house. My grandmother was the candy lady. Every year, every grandkid got one chocolate Santa. That was your Christmas gift. Like, that was it. But you waited for that chocolate Santa. It was the last thing she gave you before you were allowed to leave the house on Christmas Eve. But it was always that, you know, very simple stuff. It cost a lot of money, but it was usually stuff you could use, not something you really cared to, you know, have. It wasn't the thing you wrote on your Santa list. You know, it was necessities, what you were getting for.
I think too, like, I mean, economy had something to do with it, because these were not wealthy people, right?
No, most of
were
them.
not. And also, I think they, even their practice of religion was quiet, too. I mean, some of them were persecuted for their religion, and so
Right.
they had to kind of practice in secret, and so they, where they celebrated Christmas too,
Mhm.
would have been,
Yeah.
you know, less attention drawn to them. Americans are big and boisterous. We're not afraid.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that we have to have police at our church and only your Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Really?
Which is so
We're there,
sad.
we're there.
Yes, it's sad. Yeah.
Thanks for being a Debbie Downer.